Today, for the first time, the NASCAR Nationwide Series heads to Lexington, Ohio, to one of the country's most historic and challenging speedways, the Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course. This 2.25-mile road course offers a broad combination: rights, lefts, changes in elevation, 13 turns in all, some fast, some slow, and many that are quite unforgiving. For the second straight week, NASCAR is ready to hit the road.
Road races are NASCAR's new short tracks. Why? Because they're unpredictable. You have no idea what might happen around each turn. So what happens when you run two road courses back to back? Double the blind corners, double the danger, and oh yeah, double the fun.
And we are enjoying double the fun. A beautiful day here in Mid-Ohio. Cars are on the grid, and amidst that grid, there are plenty of storylines, and to help set the stage, let's send it over to our Shannon Spake.
Well, Mike, points leader Austin Dillon missed qualifying here today in order to practice the 14 Cup car out at Michigan. He arrived at the track about an hour ago. It's a decision that he discussed with his team. In fact, his crew chief told me he'd rather start in the back of the field than mid-pack because it gives them more options for pit strategy. But does Austin Dillon have any regrets? I'll ask him that question coming up. Rick DeBrule?
Well, it's a road course, and therefore we have road course ringers. They always come in. Let's think about this. Ron Fellows, Marcus Ambrose, they have 8 nationwide victories between them. Oh, you got A.J. Allmendinger. He won at Road America this year. And how about that Owen Kelly guy? No victories yet, but he's a guy who can definitely come in and surprise a lot of folks this weekend. So here's the question. Is this going to be an oval race spoiler? One of those oval guys pull it off? Or is it going to be a road course ringer who does this victory? Mike?
And Rick, of course, there's the underlying theme, that being solving the riddle of the unknown. This is the first time the NASCAR Nationwide Series has been here to Mid-Ohio, and consequently NASCAR gave these teams an extra day of practice on Thursday. So what did we learn in the last couple of days? Well, we learned that this is a very challenging road course. Evidence of that, some of the world's best road course racers, including Marcos Ambrose, Michael McDowell, Ron Fellows, they all got off the course. That says something in itself. And Marty Reed and Ricky Craven, you'll be calling the action today, and certainly seems like we've got all the ingredients for a dramatic afternoon.
Yeah, we've seen more lines on this racetrack than in an old person's face. Take us through this 2.25-mile layout.
Well, the drivers describe it as a technical track. We're going to start with turn 1, a left-hander flat. You can't see all the way through it. Then uphill into turn 2. They call it the keyhole. It's a great braking zone, but it goes off camber on the exit. You grab third gear in the dog leg, fourth gear, and then downshift at 165 miles an hour. One of the more difficult turns, turn 4, we saw drivers like Sam Hornish carry too much speed. It's a trouble spot for sure. Same thing with Ron Fellows, who got in the sand and didn't come back out. The S's are difficult because they're slow speed corners, and it leads to turn 9, what many drivers consider the most difficult on the course. It's an uphill blind over the top right-hander. You use the gap in the trees as a reference. You won't know if you're online until you get over the top. Then turn left through turn 10 into the carousel. Easy to overshoot. Several drivers had a shot at the pole until there. And then turn 13, a bump that leads us back to the start-finish line.
And, of course, we've got multiple favorites in today's race, including the man who has scored 5 straight top 5s on road course races, and that would be Sam Hornish Jr.
Sam Hornish has looked really good, Marty. He's looked comfortable, smooth as silk through the slow part of the course, and I think he has high expectations, but it hadn't been perfect. He's had a little trouble, as we showed a moment ago. He knows where their limit is now. Didn't qualify great. We'll see where he goes from here.
Yeah, ended up qualifying 8th after leading most of the practice sessions. Let's talk about another guy, Ron Fellows. We saw he's got more starts in the Nationwide Series on road courses than anybody, 24, but yet he goes sailing off down into turn 4.
As Mike said at the very beginning, testimonial of how difficult this track is that Ron Fellows described to me, look, here's where I'm going to be careful. And then he goes out 30 minutes later in practice and drives off the track. That's one of the best that's ever driven a road course, Marty, and he stepped over the line. What's that say about the drivers that aren't so experienced?
Well, we mentioned Sam Hornish, and he does have experience here at Mid-Ohio, but yet he really wasn't known as a road course specialist when he was in open wheel racing. Here at Mid-Ohio, for example, his one and only start, he ended up starting 7th and finished 14th. His best finish ever was a 2nd back at Watkins Glen. And so we'll see what happens to Sam as he has literally learned how to drive the road courses. Let's send it now to Rick DeBrule.
All right, well, forget the hometown pressure Sam has to face. Let's talk about the teammate pressure. Your two teammates have won the 2 nationwide road courses this year. Are they giving you grief over that, putting the pressure on you?
I don't think that they would, because they know that I could have probably made their job a little bit harder. You know, Brad and I raced hard at Watkins Glen because we both wanted to win, but at the end of the day, once you finish for Penske Racing is great, and kind of had to sit back and realize that it was going to do us a lot more benefit to finish second than for us to both be sitting in one of the gravel traps up there.
So, as a hometown boy with a hometown track, was there any advantage coming in here?
Well, I'm sure there's an advantage over half the field, and then you look at a lot of these other guys that are running, like McDowell and AJ, and you know, a lot of guys that you're going to have to compete with to win this race, and they've all ran here about as many races, if not more, than what I've run. So I'm glad that I've got the experience. I know how to race here. Awesome being in my home state of Ohio, and we've got a great crowd, and you know, just what it all means to be able to be back here with the Nationwide Series, and what Nationwide Insurance does for us, and then the Children's Hospital on top of all that. I couldn't be prouder of what my home state's put together for their first race, the Nationwide Series, the first race here.
All right, Sam Horn is looking forward to this. By the way, he's also going to be our in-race reporter today, but he's also going to have to contend with his teammate, who's with Shannon Spake.
That's right. That would be AJ Allmendinger. And the last time AJ was behind the wheel of this 22 car, well, it was a successful and an emotional day. He led 29 laps, survived 2 green-white checkered restarts, won the fuel mileage game, and of course, drove to victory lane at Road America in his very first Nationwide Series victory. You were able to play the fuel mileage game and win at Road America. I asked you earlier this week if that gives you confidence coming into this race, and you said that wasn't the thing that gave you confidence, it's something else. What is that?
Best team in the sport right now in the Nationwide Series, so it's being part of the whole Discount Tire team and everything that Roger does. Jeremy Bowen's a crew chief. This whole group of the 22 team. It's just it's a great group. Obviously, they've had a lot of success this year, so kind of did a couple different races today. I want to win the race, but they're racing the 54 in the team championship, so we got to be smart about that. But we got another fast Discount Tire Ford, and I think then we do all the right things again. We'll have a shot at it.
What did you think when you heard that the Nationwide Series was going to come to this track? Because you've raced here in other series.
I thought it'd be really cool. You know, I think anytime a NASCAR race can go to a different venue, as we've seen at Road America the past couple of years, Eldora for the Truck Series this year, to come here at Mid-Ohio, it's a great venue. It's a huge crowd. So to have a new venue, it makes it exciting, it makes it fun, and I'd like to be the inaugural winner.
AJ starting on the front row second. It should be very exciting here today. Mike?
And Allmendinger is certainly a guy to watch. We remind you, folks, coverage of Major League Baseball continues this week on ESPN and ESPN2. Tomorrow at 8 on ESPN, the Yankees head to Beantown to face David Ortiz and the first-place Red Sox. Then Monday at 10 on ESPN2, the Red Sox are back on the diamond when they face Buster Posey and the Giants. Both games are also live on Watch ESPN. Still ahead, fewer than 20 points separate the top 5 championship contenders. There's the guy who leads it, Austin Dillon, who arrived from Michigan just moments ago. Several guys trying to chase him down, including Regan Smith, who had relinquished the championship lead a few weeks ago, but has been on the upswing. And, well, talk about a guy who's been moving forward. Brian Vickers is doing just that. We'll talk with some of the championship contenders when we return to NASCAR Countdown from Mid-Ohio. It is a beautiful day and lots of storylines to cover. You won't want to miss a lap of the action this afternoon. Welcome back to NASCAR Countdown. Lots of excitement building on the grid as we get closer to the green flag here at Mid-Ohio. An absolutely perfect afternoon for racing on this 13-turn road course. And, well, with just 12 races remaining, things are tight atop the leaderboard. There are 5 drivers within 18 points of the championship lead. And as you can see, everyone is chasing Austin Dillon. Dillon, though, had a busy weekend splitting time between here and the Sprint Cup activities in Michigan. He missed qualifying. Jason Bowles qualified the car. So Dillon will need to start at the rear of the field today. So how's he feeling about that, Shannon?
Well, Austin Dillon certainly racking up the frequent flyer miles here this weekend. You arrived at the track about an hour ago. What have you been doing specifically over the last hour to prepare to climb into a car that you haven't been in since Thursday?
Well, we had a good test driver in Jason Bowles, just talking to him how the track changed and what we did to the car from the test day. And they made a few changes that they believe have made our car better. So I'm really looking forward to it. And I just want to thank all my sponsors here in the Nationwide Series, Advocare, Tag Heuer Eyewear, Nationwide, and everything that really allowing this deal. I'm coming to race. But I'm happy to be here. I'm glad they allowed me to do this, and it's a great opportunity for my career. And just want to go have some fun today and take our time walking up through the field. I think you're going to see a lot of action today. It's going to be action-packed for sure.
AJ giving you a hard time, of course, because you weren't here yesterday, but there have been some people that have questioned as why would you miss qualifying when you have the Nationwide Championship on the line. Any regrets at all?
No, and that's something we talked about coming here. We would have no regrets, and it's just, you know, the opportunity we couldn't pass up. You know, it's a great opportunity to work with a great team in NASCAR, and I feel like our road course stuff has gotten better. And also, my biggest, you know, concern was just, you know, making sure the team was happy with it, and they wanted me to go to do this, and I think as many cautions you're going to see today, I really think there's going to be a lot of cautions. Even if they're not cautions, we have a long day to get up through the field and run where our car's capable of running.
Heard him say it. He's starting in the back of the field, but he has 90 laps to make his way to the front. No regrets for Austin Dillon.
Standing by with another championship contender, Regan Smith. And I guess here's the question. Your teammates, Ron Fellows, is he giving you any advice here that's going to help you around?
Well, more than anything, just being able to look at what he's doing on the track, look at his data, and see what he's doing with his car has helped me out a ton. You know, Ron's helped me out before we got here. I've gotten an opportunity to go to his school out in Vegas and then learning his cars and things like that for a lot of years. So excited about today, excited that we're here at the home of Nationwide Insurance and getting to race in front of all the associates. And, you know, couldn't be more proud to have the Nationwide Children's Hospital on the race car today. Hannah, the little girl who designed it's here with us. So it's a lot of exciting things happening.
All right, Regan Smith coming off his best road race finish of 4th at Watkins Glen. Hopefully the momentum will carry here.
Thank you, Rick. Hey, remember back in 2003 when Brian Vickers had a bit of a slow start to the season, but rallied back to win the Nationwide Championship? Well, it seems this season he's taking a similar path to 2003 with 5 consecutive top 5 finishes. He's just 18 points back, sitting 5th in the standings and making his charge toward the front. Shannon Spake spoke with him.
Well, Brian Vickers, you guys got a pretty good qualifying start here today. First time at this racetrack, but you've been on a lot of road courses. How would you rate this track in terms of difficulties?
It's a challenging track. There's a couple high-speed sections, but there's a lot of low-speed, very technical turns, and it's a lot of fun, though. I've really enjoyed being here, and hopefully we can put this Dollar General Toyota in victory lane.
Brian Vickers rolls off 7th.
Thank you, Shannon. And of course, Brian has finished ahead of championship leader Austin Dillon in 6 of the last 8 races. And Marty and Ricky, as long as guys like Vickers keep pressuring the points leader, things are shaping up to be pretty exciting in these next several weeks.
Well, you're absolutely right, but I want to go back to what Austin Dillon said. He said no regrets, but the reality is where he's starting this race and only a 3-point lead, the chances are he's leaving here today without that lead.
You know, Marty, it's probably 3.5 hours from giving him the scorecard on whether all of this was the right decision or not. Here's what I know when I reflect on being a young driver. When you get an opportunity like what Austin Dillon has been given, you want to take advantage of it, seize the opportunity. However, there is a price to pay. The price this weekend was track time, and there's no substitute for track time when you're behind the curve. Pretty easy to argue that Austin Dillon's behind the curve on this discipline, a racetrack.
Well, and I asked Danny Stockman, his crew chief, yesterday, I said, okay, tell me the truth. How do you guys really feel about this? Because you're working towards a championship too. And he said, wait a minute, you got to remember that Austin Dillon is the future of Richard Childress Racing. And we're all behind him, and we're going to do whatever it takes for him to succeed. So that tells you a lot about the team is totally behind this decision. And yeah, they may lose the lead, and they may end up losing a championship, but they're doing it because they're looking at the big picture down the road in the long run. Mike?
And thank you, Marty. We are getting closer to the green flag. And when it comes to road course aces, today's race will feature many of them. And here's one right now, Marcos Ambrose. He certainly had the spotlight on him last week in Watkins Glen. He leads the field of a number of ringers, including Max Pappas. He's one looking for a nationwide victory himself. Also, there is Australian Owen Kelly looking to make a name for himself in NASCAR. He qualified very well this afternoon. And Ron Fellows, well, he's already got several Nationwide Series victories to his name. Looking for another one this afternoon. We'll talk with some of the ringers when we return to NASCAR Countdown from Mid-Ohio, coming up next. Welcome back to NASCAR Countdown here at Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course in Lexington, Ohio, just about an hour north of Columbus as we're inching closer and closer to the green flag for the Nationwide Children's Hospital 200. This is the second road course race in as many weeks, and just like last week in Watkins Glen, there are some very skilled road course racers in the field. One guy is Michael McDowell, and with those skills, he proved to be the fastest in qualifying. And Shannon Spake is with him.
Well, Michael McDowell is your pole sitter. You've been to this racetrack in other series. First time, obviously, in a stock car. How do you think any past experience helped you out here this weekend?
Well, you know, these Nationwide Series cars are so much different than anything I've raced here before, but, you know, just track familiarity was a big part of it. You know, we got a fast Toyota Camry. Excited to have Caleb on board again, and we've been very close in these races. Hopefully today is the day we can finish it off.
The pit stalls are 24 feet long from top to bottom. How much of an advantage, we ask this question every week, is this for you to have that '1 stall?
You know, I think it's an advantage every weekend, but, you know, the biggest thing is just being disciplined and getting in your box. You know, it's obviously very short for us, so it's going to be easy to slide through. You know, you always try to gain a little bit on the competition, but today I think you're just going to have to make sure you get it in the box and just let the guys on pit road do their job.
Thanks, Michael. Have fun.
Thank you.
Thanks, Shannon. You talk about a diverse field. Take a look at some of the countries that are represented in today's field. Actually 7 in all. Quite the international field here. Australia, Brazil, Canada, France, Italy, Sweden, and of course the United States. And one of the guys garnering quite a bit of attention is another Aussie, and we're not talking about Marcos Ambrose. We're actually talking about Owen Kelly driving the 54 today. And, well, Shannon's with him. Actually, Rick is with him.
Well, standing by with Owen Kelly, who has the opposite issue. He's going to be starting at the front of the pack. But here's the question. You were talking about how hard it is to pass here, almost impossible. Is that going to lead to a lot of frustrated drivers doing some bump passing?
I think so. I mean, over probably 3/4 of the track, the only way you'll be able to pass somebody is to put the bumper to them. And even if the guy is really slow, it's impossible to pass. So I think you're going to see a lot of that, and particularly as the race goes on. And hopefully they're not parked off in the gravel traps, you know, and we're rolling around under yellow, getting towed out of the gravel. So it's going to be interesting. It's going to be, people are going to have a lot of patience.
All right, Owen Kelly starting on that second row, and will he have to be patient? That's the question. Mike?
Well, certainly one of his mentors is Marcos Ambrose, and Shannon's with him.
Marcos Ambrose, another double-duty driver this weekend, but we've heard so many of you guys downplay starting in the back of the field here at this racetrack. Why?
Well, it's going to be really hard to pass out there today. Just got to thank Stanley and Ford and Nationwide Children's Hospitals for putting all this together. Got a great crowd here at Mid-Ohio. It's going to be a real spectacle, but it's going to be really hard to pass around this track. The corners are tight. There's a lot of corners in a sequence around the back of the circuit, and you really can't make anything happen over the back there. So I think you're just going to have to see a lot of patience. And for me, compared to, say, a Montreal, where you've got a long straightaways, plenty of opportunities to pass, this track here, passing will be a premium. And you're going to have to set them up. Might take it 2 or 3 laps to pass each car.
So how do you make your way to the front and win this race today, Marcus?
You got to use your bull bar in the front, that's for sure, and get them out of the way if you have to. But just be patient. I think a lot of guys make mistakes and open up opportunities for you. And cautions will be a big factor today too.
Have fun today.
Thank you.
Guys?
And Marcos Ambrose, one of several drivers doing double duty here this weekend, flying back and forth between Michigan and Mid-Ohio. And, well, he had a passenger aboard the plane. Of course, that was Trevor Bayne, who tweeted just before boarding, "Mid-Ohio, here we come." Perhaps Trevor Bayne garnered a little bit of insight as to how to get around this place. Guys, it seems like we're in for a very exciting afternoon. Marty, Ricky, you'll have a bird's eye view of this thing this afternoon. I'm sure you can't wait.
We can't, and I'll tell you why. That comment by Marcus, the bull bar, you're going to have to use it. That's what we expect to see. I want to bring up one other thing, though. Those 3 are going to be starting in the back. If you're Austin Dillon, do you try and coattail right with Marcus?
You know, Marty, that's a pretty good plan in turns 2 and turns 4, because they're good braking zones that are led by long straightaways. However, as Owen Kelly suggested, from turn 4 all the way to turn 13, short segments, second gear, hard to pass. At that point, Austin's going to have to take care of his own business, because if Marcos opens the door is going to close before Austin can get to it. So you got to be a capitalist today. When you see an opportunity, seize the moment.
The 3 guys that we are focusing on, obviously with a lot of road course experience, not regulars on the tour, Max Pappas, Marcus Ambrose, Owen Kelly. Of those 3, which one do you like to take the victory?
Believe it or not, Marcus Ambrose, only because of his ability. And I think ability is going to prevail. Drivers have talked about racing the track since they got here. I don't know how many of them can do it, Marty. You know, it's one thing to talk the talk. Now you got to walk the walk. And I just like Marcus Ambrose on a road course, regardless of where he starts.
The guy that Mike's going to talk to, I hope he didn't hear it because he's not going to like it. Let's talk to Max Pappas, Mike.
He is focused on what he has to do this afternoon. There's no question about that. Max Pappas representing the Italian contingent here this afternoon in this international field. You've raced here before in other series. Now, granted, these cars are nothing like those, but you have a familiarity. Based upon that, what you've seen already this weekend, what are you expecting?
I'm expecting to be a very, very close, tight quarter races. You know, there is a very technical infield that is going to promote a lot of close racing, maybe beating and banging a little bit. We've been working very hard on our Menard Dream Chevy to get it pretty good in the race pace. Didn't really get everything we wanted in qualifying, but we have a great starting spot, and I'm expecting it to be definitely action-packed race.
As we've seen already in the road course races in the Nationwide Series this season, the Penske cars, they've been the class. You've run with them already this weekend to see what they have. How do you match up?
I think that they have a really great speed in qualifying. We could almost match them in a race pace. And I think this racetrack will be a matter of having a good rhythm, not making no mistake, and stay within the limit of your car. You know, you need to be very opportunistic to make sure that you take advantage of every single mistake that everyone else is doing, and I'm really focused on staying on top of my game all day.
You're still looking for your first Nationwide Series win. Will it come today?
I let go and let God, and if it isn't His plan, it's going to happen. But thanks for all the vibe, and thanks to all the race fans out there. Love you guys, and it's been a great journey so far, and I love to be here in NASCAR. Thank you.
All right, let's quickly check in with Rick DeBrule. Rick?
Yeah, with Trevor Bayne, who's starting in the back of the pack. All right, what's going to be the secret to finishing and winning this race?
Well, we've got to latch onto Ambrose's bumper. We're going to be starting in the rear, and hopefully a lot of these guys have Nationwide insurance on their race cars, because I'm expecting a lot of people to be in the gravel traps and running into each other. So we just got to make no mistakes today, not get into anybody, and try to work our way to the front through attrition and just being smooth in our Ford Mustang here.
It's easy to say. Trevor Bayne's got to pull it off.
Thank you, Rick. Thank you, Rick. That does it for NASCAR Countdown. We're just moments away from the green flag in the inaugural Nationwide Children's Hospital 200 here at Mid-Ohio. When we return, we'll turn things over to the guys who will call the action today from atop the booth. That, of course, being Marty Reed and Ricky Craven. Opening ceremonies are coming up, and the inaugural race here at the Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course is promising to be a very exciting one. Don't turn the channel. You will not want to miss this race.
Welcome to the Nationwide Children's Hospital 200 at Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course as the NASCAR Nationwide Series turns another page in its history books, as this is the first time the series has ever run in the state of Ohio, and the first time, obviously, here at the Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course. You've heard from the drivers. It's going to be a physical affair. Well, before we get to this full contact sport known as motor racing, let's go trackside for the opening ceremonies.
Ladies and gentlemen, please rise and remove your hats as the Ohio Air National Guard presents our nation's colors. Please remain standing as the Nationwide Children's Hospital patient champions perform the Pledge of Allegiance.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Here to offer today's invocation, please welcome from Nationwide Children's Hospital, Reverend Susan Kaiser.
Let us pray together. O God of all people and places and events, we thank you for this glorious day and the generosity of so many for the health of the boys and girls in our community. We pray for all of the drivers. May they be safe. May you guide them and shield them. And for all in this day, we come with grateful hearts. Amen.
Here to perform our national anthem, please welcome the Columbus Children's Choir.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the
What a great performance by the Columbus Children's Choir. That may be on the top of our list, Ricky. That was great
beautiful.
Stay with us. We'll fire the engines when we come back. The parking lots are jammed. We've got a great crowd on hand for the inaugural running of the Nationwide Children's Hospital 200 here at Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course. And as we come topside one more time, several things we want to talk about. You heard everybody during Countdown talking about how physical this was going to be as far as the race. But yet, in qualifying, if you were with us, we had no major incidents. So which way is it going to go here, Ricky?
Well, first off, Marty, we didn't see any incidents in qualifying because drivers had 8 hours of practice. That's more than enough time to acclimate themselves to the racetrack. Sometimes you learn by going over the edge, like Ron Fellows here in turn 4. And then you see Michael McDowell, same thing. Too much speed, can't get slowed down into the China Beach, as it's referred. Kyle Larson going through the carousel, a very slow turn, but still easy to make a mistake. And then Sam Hornish coming up on traffic, gets a little rear wheel hop, lands in the sand. Nothing easy about this racetrack, Marty.
Well, and we've had some surprises. Michael McDowell, a surprise pole sitter. Nobody really was expecting that. He turned in a great lap. And we've also had some of our favorites. They're going to be starting deeper in the field. So I guess, is the unexpected what we should expect today?
That's a good way of putting it, because drivers know what they can get away with as it relates to the racetrack. They don't, however, know what they can or cannot get away with as it relates to racing. Most drivers think turn 2, turn 4 are going to be great passing zones. But what happens if a driver carries too much speed into turn 4, the spot where all the drivers had trouble, and it's downhill and it's following a restart? What you say about expecting the unknown or the unexpected is going to be a challenge.
All right, if you weren't with us for Countdown, let's take you around this 2.25 mile layout because it has elevation and some very tricky corners.
And drivers refer to it as very technical. And let's start with turn 1. Flat, left-hander. You can't see all the way through. It's a little uncomfortable, but then uphill. Downshift the second gear, getting into the keyhole. You can brake late, but you got to be easy on the exit because it's off camber. Grab third gear, fourth gear, 165 miles an hour into the S's. Brake hard. Sam Hornish braking too hard. That's an example of going over the edge. If you look at Ron Fellows, same thing. Trouble into turn 4. Very slow through the S's. Up to turn 9, Thunder Valley on the exit. Most drivers describe this as the most challenging of all 13 turns. Over the hill. You can't see until you get there. Grab another gear as you turn left into the carousel. Marty, there's a bump exiting turn 13, and you're back to the start-finish line.
We've got less than 30 seconds. I want to ask you 2 questions. Who wins this race, and who has the points lead?
Michael McDowell looked good. Don't underestimate him, but keep your eye on Marcus Ambrose coming from the rear. He's going to make it exciting.
Well, it's about time to find out how this is all going to unfold. Let's go trackside to get the command to start the engines and get the inaugural race here at Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course underway.
Race fans, please welcome our Grand Marshal and patient champion from Nationwide Children's Hospital, Grant Reed, as he delivers the most famous words in motorsports.
Driver, start your engines.
Crank her up. Fire it up. Fire it up. Okay, light it up. Fire up. Fire it up when ready.
Crank it up.
Fire it up. Nothing. You good. Fire it up. Fire in the hole.
So the engines have fired on the 40 cars that have qualified for the race. You're looking at Sam Hornish Jr., and the reason is he's going to be our in-race reporter. We'll talk to him when we come back.